In 2017, um, I got injured and my right arm was completely paralyzed. I remember that I entered the room and everybody was looking at me like a stranger. That's the moment that I realized the huge influence of clothes on our lives. And at that point, I decided to leave my previous career and just get into that research. We've got a call from the Israeli Paralympic delegation. None of the companies that design clothes for the Israeli Paralympic delegation.
Have you noticed any growth in the sales?
It's an interesting question, and I think and at that time, Nathaniel, my co-founder, passed away.
Well, welcome to this podcast series all about adaptive fashion or inclusive fashion. I am going to be speaking with Shay Senior today, who is the designer at Palta and has done many things as well. I know that you're doing a search engine now and you've worked with the Olympics. A lot of things to discuss today. So I will let you do your own intro and then, we shall get chatting.
Hello, Vaughn. So thank you very much for inviting me to that podcast. As you know, I always like to share my personal story, the story of inclusive fashion, and how did I get even to that word? Because if you ask me 7 years ago, I don't see myself in any form getting into the fashion world. But in 2017, I got injured in my right arm, and after a surgery, my right arm was completely paralyzed, which I had to learn to do all the activities of life again, starting with only one hand.
Was that a car accident or
No, it was during a sport training, and I fell with another person on my back, like something to take a lot of weight, and I fall on my right arm with the weight of both of us, electricity all over my arm, and I realized that something wrong. And at that point, I was working as a consultant around the world in the unmanned vehicles industry, which requested a lot of times to wear a very strict and specific outfit. Um, let's call it the formal wear. And at that time, it was almost impossible for me to get into those clothes. It would hurt, take a lot of time to put on the button shirt with one hand. And then to get into a blazer or a suit that is fit to your body, it's not so simple to do when you have only one hand, or your hand cannot fold into the sleeve, which made me feel very frustrating. And at that one day that I decided to wear what I feel comfortable in and not what the people in the room are wearing, that's the moment that I realized the huge influence of clothes on our lives and how do we feel and react depending on what we wear. That clothes are much more than a fabric on our skin. Um, I remember that I entered the room and everybody was looking at me like a stranger, even though those people already know me. They know what's my profession, what I'm doing. Since I was not dressed like them, it was feeling like I'm so different than the rest. And, there was no space to say, hey guys, I just went through a surgery. I'm not able to wear those clothes. It's not that I'm wearing it because I don't think the clothes that you wear are the right clothes, or I disagree with the style that the other people have.
I'm wondering actually what were you wearing?
I was wearing a long sleeve. It's kind of a polo shirt, but elastic fabric, so I could fold, put my hand in, and then bring the rest of the shirt, which you cannot do with a button shirt because then it's full of wrinkles and you cannot take off the blazer because it would be a shame. And on top of it, I had kind of a bomber jacket, but very fine. Um, Elastic pants that look elegant, like elegant pants, but are very stretchy and easy to wear. But my issue was mostly with shirt and shoes. Since I cannot wear shoes with laces, it was also be very problematic because when you wear formal clothes, most of the time you would take on a leather shoe with very thin laces that are most of the time harder than normal laces. And because I don't have power in my right arm, they would open up. So I was wearing, actually, it was Skechers. Skechers have like a smart foam shoes, but like at the top, business at the top, sport at the bottom. Yeah. That's the type of shoes that I was wearing. So the outfit was very much on the stretchy. The garments did have buttons, but I didn't use them. I mean, in the pants, I would just pull them up like trainings. They would have the front button and everything, but until today, I'm not using pants that are not elastic. Most of my jeans are with some elastin into it, so it makes it a little bit stretchy, easier for me to pull it up with one hand. I hate skinny jeans because I need my hands to put them on and to take them off. I mean, that's also, if there's a year that's the trend, a lot of people with disabilities are going to struggle.
Denim is quite a difficult one because obviously you want that skinny jean look, but it could be an elastic one, but it's still going to be fairly tough just because of the nature of the fabric. So
I remember that I took all my button shirts to the rehabilitation center and I said, okay, I'm going to start doing alterations because I understand that I need to wear these clothes if I want to continue working. I gotta look like everyone else, but I want to simplify my dressing process. And when I started putting magnets and velcros and creating different elasticity elements in the sleeves, I've realized that many other people in the rehabilitation center with similar um, issues or different disabilities would come up and say, hey, do you know how to sew? So maybe you can make me this change in my clothes. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm not the only one with that problem. Probably many people around the world are dealing with the same. And that made me very curious about what actually exists now in the internet. I mean, I knew that I'm going through a long rehabilitation process, but at the end, my right arm is going to function. But what about all those that don't have an arm, or their arm is not functioning, or they have dexterity issues? And I went online and I remember that everything I saw was so geriatric and not fashionable that I said, what am I going to do if my hand will not get back to its previous condition? And at that point, I decided to live my previous career and just get into that research. I created questionnaires in 4 different languages. After 6 weeks, more than 1,000 people with disabilities answered, and it was like poking the bear, and now everybody's waiting for you to do something. So Netanel Yehuda Levi have joined me. He co-founded with me Palta. Like until then, it was me doing it as a freelance. And we realized that our first goal is creating a community that understands the values of inclusive design, which is a definition that we learned from a friend from the product sector, industrial designer, that made much more sense for me than adaptive design, because if you first solve the need of a niche group and then you realize that it also works for the rest of society, it means that your product has a higher potential to not be thrown, wasted. We had a conversation with Fashion Revolution, which are mainly focused on sustainability, but a lot of activism for a better fashion world. And they invited us to present our clothes in a fashion show here in Israel. And we thought it's a great opportunity to show what inclusive design looks like to fashion designers, people from fashion media, in order to start creating more conversation around that topic, not only locally but also global. The idea was that models with and without disabilities would be walking, rolling, whatever on the catwalk, wearing exactly the same clothes. So someone with a disability would come out wearing something, and then very quickly after, another person without disability would walk. And the goal for us was that people would ask, what's here for people with disabilities? And when we got that question at the end of the show, we realized that we were doing something right and that we have the ability to create something that not only is functional but also looks good on different bodies. Since both of us are not fashion designers, it was always in collaboration with um, local designers that either have a disability or have a connection to that word first grade. And we have learned a lot through that process about how it is also to design as a person with disability and the different mindset that you have thinking first about the functionality. We've got a call from the Isreali Paralympic delegation. The leading athlete was part of our community. She was very pro that movement of inclusive design. Until 2020, none of the companies that designed the clothes for the Israeli Paralympic delegation have done anything related to adaptive design. And I have seen it for a while as a goal because I defined strategically Paralympic athletes as the leaders of that revolution. Uh, you know, naturally, those are the people that most people without disabilities would know because they bring medals for the countries. They are much more aware of them. They might be on TV. And then, if those people bring the conversation, it works to both sides, the community of people with disabilities and the community of people without disabilities. The Israeli delegation was 100 individuals, 36 people with different disabilities. And making a long story short, but having a very long uh, research and personal study about each one of the participants, we were able to make 98% of the individuals to wear exactly the same outfit, and only two of them that needed personal adaptations because of asymmetric bodies, etc. But more than that, we got 36 ambassadors of the story of Palta that were in Japan talking about what we have done, how was the process like with designers, with other athletes, and that just brought a lot of uh, new and other people to have an interest in what Palta is doing. And we've realized that our knowledge cannot stay to just be a brand for people with disabilities to shop, because that know-how needs to be shared. I always say it, and I write it in every uh, post about collaboration that we have, that our power is to collaborate. And if we want to make a change, we need to work together with others. That's the innovation today.
And hopefully we see some more inclusive clothing as well for the Olympics, because I have also thought about that for all the teams all over the world, that I'm sure they're not all adapted to their needs. So surely there has to be a lot more work done in that field.
Some of those companies have contacted us since Tokyo, and where we've been able to help. We gave our insights from the design process, like production sites, etc. As I told before, our goal is that people would be able to do that and not to create challenges for others because we want to be the only one. At the end, we don't win anything.
Were there any drawbacks specifically? Because obviously As you said, it's not something that's really been done before where we have inclusive garments in these settings.
Um, I think the biggest challenges I've faced so far. So, as you mentioned, in relation to the Paralympics, because we were the first ones to do it in the world, so there was no one to look at in order to learn from in relation to, okay, that's what they've done in the past. Um, it was a challenge, and it was very scary to do that. At the end, they're going to uh, be on the global stage, it's going to be in the news. Everybody's watching, as we say. And I think the most important thing that made me stay calm with that challenge was that the athletes were involved in every single step that we would do. So there's no situation that I would guess something about how it would fit or how it wouldn't. Always we had people trying it on. It was day and night sessions with individuals that they would try, give feedback, and we'll get back to our tables. And I think that challenge actually, by passing it and seeing the success of that collection, I really got the belief that inclusive design is the right way, and that's the opportunity for every designer and fashion brand to really meet the needs of people with disabilities, but not only because it's needed, but because that's the real way to stay alive. When we were trying to start from a very niche group, at the end, it makes it uh, it makes the price higher than most of the other things that people already know. Because when you start small, it costs more. Um, it's very hard to convince someone to pay more for a product when you're a small designer or a brand.
So, in your experience, when it comes to obviously the sales side of things, or at least just kind of breaking through this inclusive fashion scene, have you noticed any growth in the sales, or in general, are people actually buying this?
It's an interesting question, and I think the biggest challenge of adaptive clothing brands is that at the end, people want to buy from companies that their peers are buying from, and they would prefer to buy from fast fashion or general audience fashion company, a garment that less fits their needs, but they will feel like everyone else, than to buy from an adaptive brand. And it's a psychological process that people would have to go through. If the adaptive brand will be enough on media, which is another challenge because we don't have such a big marketing budget in order to compete with local or global brands and take audience from them. So what we mostly get at the early stages of an adaptive brand is people that cannot find clothes anywhere else. But what we want is actually the people that are buying from big brands to buy from our brand. That's our way of growth. So I can see that there are a lot of collaborations between retailers and small adaptive brands. That's also something that is very helpful because it's kind of enabling more trust for the community to say, okay, now they start selling it in Marks and Spencer. I know Marks and Spencer. I can buy in Marks and Spencer that adaptive brand product because I feel that I'm buying in Marks and Spencer, and everybody sees me in Marks and Spencer store. The online shopping is you and the computer, and no one else sees you. But still, people have the influence of what people around me would think. What is the brand that I'm wearing? If someone would ask me, "Oh, where's your shirt from?" and I would say, "Adaptive brand," that could put me in a situation that I don't know how to deal with. And that's, I believe, a very important thing, that the story of an adaptive brand would be very clear. Like that, me as a customer, when I buy it, I could very easily explain what they're doing special. If I'm able to tell that story to other people with or without disabilities, that's one of the most important things as a small brand. That people will have the conversation around your garment because of the garment, not because of what you saw for people with disabilities. Nathaniel, my co-founder, passed away last September, which is exactly 1 year ago. And I think that it's important to mention that besides the mission that I have as an individual with disability to create an experience for people like me to shop online, it's also his legacy of bringing to awareness the needs of people with disabilities in daily life and our ability to be part, and the importance of individuals with disabilities being responsible of where and how we are considered in society, not waiting for anyone else to do it for us. So it's important for me to mention, and in memory of Netanel. And since he passed away, of course, we've made a new team. It was a process, and I had to connect with new people in order to take this thing forward. But I'm very happy for the opportunities that I had with him and the opportunities that I have after he passed away to continue and learn from his philosophy, how to continue doing it step by step, paving the way to the result that we're expecting.
Well, he's definitely left a mark, because what you guys have achieved so far is just amazing. I know it's super sad to lose a team member, especially kind of at this peak of your journey, or at least, you know, when you guys are doing a lot of work in the industry.
So, of course, our website and my email is always open for anyone that wants to ask. We're much into education. I love to speak with students or people that think to go and in going into fashion schools and not sure what it means or what are the opportunities, and if they don't want to be the ones that are making the clothes. For me, it's important, to give my voice and say what you can do joining the fashion industry without studying fashion design, and what do I see that fashion designers are capable of doing and their power if they start their own brand or if they work in a bigger brand, making big changes in that industry. So yeah, I'm here, and I'm always happy to talk with new people and to hear personal stories to help others to deal with their challenges. If we want to live in a better world, we need to be better people.
And on that note, thank you so much for this really insightful chat. I think it's been very interesting to hear more about your story, a lot of things that I didn't know about yourself and the journey. And yeah, I'm really excited for the future. I think there's so much more that I'm gonna be hearing about.
Keep you updated. Thank you for your time, Juan. It was great.